a sister and brother searching for the missing pieces in the life of their seafaring ancestor.
My name is Ian Lockerbie Gaskell. This is my sister Valerie Moore. And we're here, basically, to look into the life and times of William Lockerbie.
A very remarkable man named William Lockerbie.
Our great-great-great-grandfather. William Lockerbie was an extraordinary man. He was a great adventurer. He came down to Liverpool and went to sea. And he ended up marooned on islands in the Pacific.
William wrote a journal when he was marooned on Fiji about all his escapades, the skirmishes with various islands and that. And in the introduction, it is mentioned that he married a Fijian princess. I would really like to find out if that actually did happen.
Our connections with the maritime history is very strong in terms of the shipbuilding side, but what really fascinates us, I think, is William. He ended up becoming a ship owner and a merchant. Really, I'd love to know more about that. How he made his fortune as a merchant.
So Val, Ian, welcome.
Hello. Pleased to be here.
So we're here today to learn a little bit more about the wonderful William Lockerbie. You're going to find out now just how wonderful he was. But first of all, let's set the scene a little bit. How are you connected to William Lockerbie? This is your family tree. We'll get right back to William Lockerbie, your 3 times great-grandfather, and we can see that it's through the Gaskell connection. So tell me about the Gaskells and the Lockerbies.
Richard Luke Gaskell was in the boat building business in Liverpool, and he was also in partnership with Lockerbie. Richard also married his daughter Jane.
Now, Lockerbie's shipping empire was huge.
I think we found 4 boats that he owned over the period from about 1821.
Here is the evidence, right, connecting the Gaskells and the Lockerbies. Richard Luke Gaskell and Jane Lockerbie. And the occupations, you can see the Gaskells, shipwright, and Lockerbie, merchant.
Yep.
And it was a particularly prosperous union because from that came an empire. These are ships that we found were owned and managed by William Lockerbie in the Lloyd's registers. Now, as you can see, there's more than a few.
I'll say there is. Wow.
He's a man of means. Now, this starts in 1823.
Yeah.
Right.
This is amazing.
There's a ship.
Are you saying that he owned these ships?
Managed and owned. So he may have managed some of them, he may have owned some of them.
Wow.
But the story of William Lockerbie goes back to Fiji. There's a journal of William Lockerbie's, and it makes for absolutely fascinating reading. It was one of these things that I couldn't put down because every page there is this adventure. He does find himself marooned in Fiji.
He was left there by this ship, Jenny, an American ship, with 6 American sailors and left to fend for himself.
Maybe he's stuck there, or maybe he chooses to stay there. It's a little bit uncertain. He finds himself in a position where he's captured by the natives, by one of the warring tribes. They negotiate with one of the tribes for release. And then collectively, they wage war on another tribe. Having the superior firepower, they are easily outnumbered. He's a bit of an entrepreneur and a bit of a player. And using his connections on the island, he manages to get 10 tons of sandalwood. And then on the 2nd of June in 1808, he boards a ship, the General Wellesley, and leaves Fiji. He had a bit of a thing for sandalwood.
He obviously made a lot of money.
Now, there's an interesting connection between, well, Lockerbie and pretty much everybody who was alive at that period, but the one I'm interested in is his connection with the tyrant
Captain Bligh.
The son of a Plymouth customs officer, William Bligh went to sea age 7, quickly becoming a skilled seaman and navigator. By the age of 22, he was sailing under Captain Cook. Just 11 years later, he would captain his most notorious voyage. And it's a story that was immortalised in the film the mutiny on the Bounty. It's 1789, and Bligh is sailing the Bounty, a naval vessel bound from Tahiti to the Caribbean. By then, his reputation was that of a man with a volatile temper, something that would see him thrown off his own ship. The Bounty's first mate, Christian Fletcher, led a mutiny which resulted in Bligh and a handful of his loyal seamen being cast adrift in a small boat with very meagre rations. 4,000 miles later, the highly skilled navigator Bligh would sail them to the safety of the Dutch East Indies. But when he returned to England, Bligh faced charges over losing his vessel. Although acquitted, his reputation never truly recovered, and by 1808 he suffered another mutiny of sorts, known as the Rum Rebellion. And it is at this very moment in Bligh's story that our protagonist William Lockerbie steps in.
What can you tell me about Lockerbie and Bligh?
Well, Lockerbie actually was sailing into Port Jackson, which is Sydney, known today, and he had his own little supply of rum. Captain Bligh had a bit of a regime, and he didn't like this sort of activity going on. His soldiers of the day who came in to inspect William Lockerbie's cargo tried to, I would call it a bribe. Can we have that for $1 a barrel? And he said, well, no, this is not right. So the journal more or less says, no, soldier, not going to do it. And this set the scene for not a good relationship. He damned Captain Bligh, and this didn't go down too well. So he was sentenced to 1 day's imprisonment. And he didn't actually stay in prison. He bought himself out for a couple of pounds. A few days later, the soldiers that were serving Captain Bligh, for some reason or other, imprisoned him and sent him back to England to serve trial for, I think, probably corruption. And I'd love to know a bit more about that.
So there is a wonderful quote in the journal. This is William Lockerbie's recollection of that event. I feel myself more than rewarded for the loss of my £20 in witnessing the downfall of the tyrant. It was a fine, calm evening, and I expended a whole box of candles in lighting the ship fore and aft as she lay directly opposite. So you have to remember, at this time, Bligh was held prisoner in his own house. Right out the front of it was the ship of the man that he had tried to imprison, William Lockerbie. So what did Lockerbie do? He lit the candles and he just stood there and went, in your face, Bligh.
Yeah, celebration.
Cheeky
And that, to me, is the mark of the man.
Of this guy, yeah.
He's cheeky.
Very.
He's arrogant.
Very.
Right? He's a little pushy, but he's got the actions to back it all up. And so there's one more thing I wanted to cover off, because when you reached out to us, you asked a question about what more did he do in Fiji? Because isn't there a rumour of a Fijian princess or something?
There is a rumour that he married a Fijian princess. And seeing as he was on such good terms with the chief, it's sort of quite feasible. And I just wondered if there was any descendants called Lockerbie in Fiji.
And this is where we have to move from, documentary evidence, of which there's clearly plenty, just to speculation and interpretation. I cannot imagine him leading a monastic life in Fiji. It's beautiful.
Beautiful women, yeah.
Beautiful women. They're welcoming. He understands their culture. He's accepted. So we've had a look at your DNA, right? And of course, there's no Fijian in your DNA, and there wouldn't be, because you're descended from William Lockerbie's Jane Lockerbie. But did he have any children on the island? We don't know, because the records just don't exist. But at some point in the future, and it could be tomorrow, or it could be next year, you could get a match in the database with somebody who has a reasonable amount of Polynesian DNA. And that will be the smoking gun evidence that you need to know whether or not William left a little present behind when he left Fiji.
That's very
Thank you both so much for coming today and for sharing with us this wonderful, wonderful story of William Lockerbie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've learnt so much. Absolutely brilliant. No, loved every minute of it. I learned a few things more than I didn't know before. For example, the number of ships that he had a lot. Wow, that meant so much to me to see a little bit more history that I just didn't know. I thought he had 5 ships. No, it was more than that. Extremely proud to be part of that story. You know, a long way away, I know, in terms of time, but I like to think a little bit's rubbed off. Yeah, why not?
So Val and Ian leave, not only knowing that their swashbuckling ancestors' boat-owning empire was much bigger than they'd imagined, but that Fijian sandalwood also made his fortune. Whether William Lockerbie had any children when he was on the island of Fiji, well, that question can only be answered in time. The sinking of HMT Lancastria in 1940 was Britain's worst maritime disaster. But because it happened quite near the beginning of the Second World War, the news was kept from the British public. Lorna Holder wants to know whether her ancestor was involved.
My name is Lorna Holder. I'm from Bicester, which is near Oxford. I wanted to find out more information about my ancestor, Donald Carroll. He is my grandfather's cousin. I went online, typed in his name. I just put the basic information that I sort of knew, and it came up with his name and mentioned the ship Lancastria, which was a ship that took a lot of the soldiers from Dunkirk. He died on that ship, apparently. I don't know anything about him or what he was doing. So I wanted to learn more about him and more information about maybe the Lancastria itself. I haven't been able to do much research on that side of things either.
Lorna, thanks so much for joining us.
That's okay.
Now, is your interest in one particular family member or in genealogy in general?
In one particular family member, Donald Carroll.
So we see Patrick there is your great-grandfather. We track and find his sister, Helen, and it's Helen's son, Donald. In other words, your great-grandfather's nephew. Clearly, the story attached to Donald Carroll is pretty spectacular for you to be carrying it today in the 21st century, 2018.
Yeah. He interests me.
OK, tell me more.
Because he apparently died on the Lancastria. It was a ship that tried to save the troops just after Dunkirk, but it didn't make it home.
Would it surprise you to hear it was, in fact, Britain's biggest maritime disaster?
I've possibly heard that it was quite big, but I don't know how big.
Because the ones that garner headlines, of course, the Titanic, the Lusitania also was another biggie during World War I. Both wiped out. But all those that drowned on the Titanic and those that died on the Lusitania, add those numbers together and you're not touching the number. They reckon that 4,000 perished on the Lancastria in 1940.
Okay.
She was a Cunard White Star liner, an ocean liner between the wars, and she was requisitioned, as many ships were, for the war effort. And lost her RMS title. She became HMT, His Majesty's Trawler, slightly less glamorous. And it would have been a much less glamorous experience going on board her by 1940. A massive ocean liner, which was there in the Loire estuary to take home all the British refugees, so civilian, military, embassy members. The question mark is, we're sitting here now, and I expect a lot of people watching, like you and me until relatively recently, haven't heard of this.
No.
Britain's biggest maritime disaster. There is a reason for that. It's all to do with timing. Wartime, of course, distorts. The great propaganda machine takes over. And we have a big deal happening at the beginning of June, and that is the Dunkirk retreat. We also have another big deal who's just come into power, and that was Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
OK, he's been a premier for, I think, scarcely a month. And he started on his great oratory mission. We've had the blood and toil speech. We've had, we're going to fight him on the beaches and on the landing craft. OK, we've had all that. People are hooked in. The morale needs to be lifted. We got the boys out of France, but it's a retreat. OK?
Yeah.
We're on the back foot. And on the 16th of June, the day before the Lancastria sinks, Churchill gives arguably one of his most famous speeches. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties. And so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, of course it was men, men will still say this was their finest hour. And what happens the next day?
Gets bombed.
The Nazis came very quickly, bombed 1, 2, 3 times. The ship starts to list in a matter of minutes, I think, in under half an hour. And then the 4th bomb goes down what's known as the smokestack, boof, detonates in the engine room. And what happens next?
It explodes and...
It explodes. You get over 1,000 tons of oil on the sea's surface. And you get more Nazi incendiaries, and then you have an inferno. So you have people, possibly like Donald, trying to jump, and they're jumping into flames. The ship goes down on the 17th of June. It doesn't come out until much later, the end of July. And I think it's leaked into the American and the Scottish press, of all places. And here we have, it's the 30th of July, 6 weeks later. And look at the tone of this, it's interesting. Lancastria, how they escaped. How survivors sunk by Nazi bombs off Saint-Nazaire were saved. So the positive
It
note.
started with the positive,
Yeah.
not the bad.
They have. That's called wartime propaganda. And in fact, the second article from the Daily Herald, Tommies trapped in sinking Lancastria met death with song. What's that reminiscent of? The Titanic, the band will play on?
Yeah, because they're all playing, aren't they, as they're sinking, yeah.
So we're going to drip feed this into the media. It's going to get out there in the end, despite the censor. But hey, our boys are brave. Even when the Nazis are drowning them and blowing them up, they're singing. What is it?
Going.
Roll out the barrel. Yeah.
But when they weren't.
Well, we don't know. We just have to hope it was quick.
Yeah.
Let's now find out if your great-grandfather's nephew was indeed one of those men and women who perished. Here is Donald Carroll's Territorial Army record of service. We know from this that he joined up on the 1st of December, 1939. He was born in 1919, so by 39, a 20-year-old man, fighting fit, perfect. Okay, the British Army would have thought. And indeed, he was enrolled to the Royal Army Services Corps.
Okay.
So we know that from his army record. Let's now go to the second document that we have, because what you want to know is, did this man board the Cunard, the Lancastria? Here we have Donald Carroll, and I regret to say it is indeed a casualty card, as you suspected.
Yeah.
And you can actually see the Lancastria is named there. He was reported missing on the 5th of July, 1940. Okay, so about 3 weeks after the ship went down.
Okay.
So we know he was on board in an army capacity, and he was reported missing. So he died. And no one knew about this. It was totally covered up. I doubt his family knew. The press certainly didn't know. Can you imagine nowadays something like this happening? So how do you feel about this story and having the family rumour confirmed?
I'm glad we've got it confirmed, so we definitely know it was definitely, that's how he died. It's obviously, it's tragic. It's not nice to think that a family member has gone through that, and I dread to think what he had to go through. But I'm glad it's confirmed and we know.
So I'm really sorry about Donald, but in a way, from his watery grave, he's served to remind us all of this epic loss. And by Jove, they deserve to be remembered, huh?
Yeah, I definitely think people should know about it, people should be taught about it, and they should know their history.
Thanks so much.
No, thank you.
For sharing that story and bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I'm sad that my ancestor Donald had to go through that and died on that ship. Also, glad that we've kind of got it confirmed now that he definitely was there and that is how he died. It's a shame, I think, for the amount of people that died on that ship. You know, everyone knows about the Titanic, and there was a lot more people that died on the Lancastria, way more than the Titanic, and no one really knows about it. So I definitely feel people should know. It's affected a lot of people. But it's just a very big mixture of feelings, really. I'll definitely make sure that I tell the story of Donald Carroll, and my sons know about him, and my other family members, they now have confirmation, and I will make sure that they know about it. I'll definitely make sure that it's not forgotten in any way possible that I can.
Sad news, but after years of uncertainty, Lorna now has the confirmation she longed for. Her ancestor, Donald Carroll, was serving his country when he met his end on HMT Lancastria. Next up, who wouldn't like to have a connection to the royal family? Well, our next visitor, Beatrice Walter, thinks she might have just that, even though she was born in Germany.
I did a DNA test and I found that 26% of me is British, and I have no idea where it comes from, because I thought I was, well, more or less 100% German, Scandinavian, because my dad was tall and blonde and blue-eyed. I also found a couple of years ago a picture of Queen Victoria's youngest daughter, Princess Beatrice, and we do look alike. It's the eyes, the chin, the nose. Everybody who actually sees the pictures, they all say the same. And I do hope that there's some kind of connection, at least a little bit, to maybe the royal family, as everybody wishes.
Beatrice.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm looking at Beatrice up there, and I'm looking at Beatrice in front of me, and you really look a lot like Princess Beatrice.
The same nose, eyes, chin. So it all kind of like fits.
One of the interesting things about the royal family is they're not actually British. As you well know, they are mostly German.
Yeah.
And Beatrice, her dad was German and her mother was half German. So Beatrice is probably about 75% German herself. She was the youngest of Queen Victoria's children. And when Albert died, Victoria looked to Beatrice, and she was her favourite as well. So there's a couple of ways that we can go down this path and look for a connection. There's the family tree, and there's the DNA.
Yeah.
So let's explore both of those parts.
Okay.
So let's have a little look at your DNA results. A big chunk of Eastern Europe, right?
Yeah.
Not really a surprise, going on what you know. 26, a quarter of you is Great Britain.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is quite a big part for
it
not
is.
knowing where it comes from.
Well, it's bigger than the bit of you that's technically German.
Yeah.
And this is where it starts to get very interesting. When we start to look at ethnicity and how it plays out in our genes.
Yeah.
If you look at these maps, you can see the bright green, which is Great Britain. You can see it covers the good part of the island of England.
Yeah.
But you can see it also covers part
Central Europe.
of Central Europe, of France and of Germany. So it's not that unusual to see Germans or even French people with British DNA. But if we're trying to connect you to the royal family through your DNA, we're going to need to get a sample from the royal family.
Which won't happen.
So if you could help us out with that,
I try my best.
that would be wonderful.
Okay.
But we're not going to get access to that. Now, that said, it might not be the royal family. It might be somebody who's more remotely connected to them, but a known connection. And if you get a genetic match with that person, then that becomes very interesting. But I want to go back to your family tree. We're stepping back here, and as you can see, German, German,
Yeah, all
German,
of them.
German, German, German. It's all very German.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't gone back a long way, and it's challenging because, you know, access to family history records in Germany is somewhat restricted.
And very limited.
Yeah, and very limited.
Yeah. And destroyed during the war.
Yes, yes, indeed. Some of them were destroyed during the war. So we can see there's a strong connection with Germany, just like the royal family has a strong connection with Germany, okay? The fact that you're German probably increases the likelihood that you're related to the royal family than if you were British, because the royal family are not British.
No.
And so, whilst I can't conclusively say you are or you aren't connected, what I can say is right now, there's no evidence. But if you build that tree back, if we go up and back and out, if you can find a connection in your family to German aristocracy, That is your passport to the palace, right? And that's your connection back to your doppelganger.
Yeah, she is.
So weirdly, we're here in Britain and you have British DNA. But the answers to your question lie back in Germany. Because that's where the royals lie.
Yeah, so I try my best to find something.
Look, shake that tree. Who knows, a tiara might fall out.
Yeah, hopefully. It was fantastic to actually have that help. And we don't know whether there's connection with the Royal House of England, but I'm gonna do my digging now in Germany and hope I'm gonna find some royalty in Germany, which were connected to Queen Victoria and so on. I try to find my tiara now in the German area and regions.
Everybody's heard about Jack the Ripper and what he's done and all the ladies of the night that he murdered. My name's Christine and I'm a bus driver. I'd like to find out whether it's true or not that I'm actually related to Chief Inspector Aberline of the Jack the Ripper case. When I was about the age of 10 or 11, my mum told me that we was related to this man called Inspector Aberline, and he used to work at Scotland Yard, and he was in charge of the case of Jack the Ripper. And he had the same name as my nan. Her maiden name is Aberline, but no one's ever really looked into it or delved into it or shown any proof of it. And I'd like to really look into it more. As police officers go, I think he's really famous. He must be one of the most famous ever because, you know, who don't know about Jack the Ripper? Well, as far as I'm aware, there was about 5 or 6 ladies of the night killed around this area in London, and they never caught him. I would hope to clarify that Inspector Aberline is an ancestor. I'd like to be able to visit his grave and perhaps put some flowers on and just say, you have got family still here.
Well, welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
Excited.
OK,
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
So, are you from the East End or...?
Not far from the East End, just the other side of the water.
OK. So, the thing about Chief Inspector Aberline is that he became famous even in his lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's why his picture is being drawn. It's not every Chief Inspector that gets a picture that's drawn.
No, yeah.
So, his fame was known at the time. Inspector Aberline came from Blandford in Dorset.
Oh, OK.
So if he was connected, if you're connected to that family, you don't come from London at all.
Right.
You come from Dorset.
Do I?
On that side of your family.
Oh, OK.
We know that when he was young, he didn't have a trade. Then he became a clockmaker.
Really?
Yeah, a clockmaker, yes. We know that his father was a saddler, working in dyeing leather and making leather work. So they didn't come from a very well-to-do family. They were a working-class family. And he moved to London, got a posting in London. In January 1863, he became a member of the police force. Within 10 years, he rose from the position of being an ordinary police constable to becoming an inspector at H Division in Whitechapel, East London.
Right.
Now, he spent 14 years then as a detective, and then he was promoted again to inspector. Now, the police force in the 19th century is not like it is now.
No.
Many people were suspicious of the idea of the police. So, murders, like the Jack the Ripper murder, made people realise the importance of the police.
Yeah, I suspect it would.
Yes. Do you know anything about the Jack the Ripper cases?
Well, I know that I think it was 5 ladies got murdered that they were sure of that was the Jack the Ripper because he named himself. And he actually sent letters to Inspector Aberline. He called him the boss.
Yes. So let's find out more about this infamous murderer.
Few mysteries have captured the public's imagination quite like the case of Jack the Ripper. In 1888, 5 prostitutes were brutally slain over a 3-month period, bringing fear and panic to the East End of London. At the time, it exposed life, crime and poverty in the slums of the East End. Newspapers enthralled their readers with graphic images and details. And this Victorian horror story has been the subject of thousands of books, movies, TV shows, and even songs ever since. Today, the infamous killer's identity remains unknown.
Good, so we need to sort of go back a bit, as it were, into your family tree and look at that. We can see on your family tree the name Aberline appearing.
Yes.
And then we can see further back names like Edward Aberline.
Yeah.
So your family is directly connected and is part of the Aberline family. We've just got to work out whether this Aberline family
It's the same.
is the same.
Yeah.
Historian Onyeka Nubia is helping Christine Ball prove if she's related to the Chief Inspector who tried to catch Jack the Ripper.
Now, Inspector Aberline, Chief Inspector Aberline, his brother was Edward Aberline.
Yeah.
Edward Aberline was born in 1839. Frederick was born in 1843. And they both had the same parents, also another Edward.
Right.
Yes. So we're getting to a point now where we're looking at this Chief Inspector Aberline and we're seeing that there is a lot of similarities between his brothers, his father, and what's on your family tree. Almost as if they both match each other.
OK.
Yeah. So you really want to know now whether you are connected
Yeah, whether the bloodline is there.
to this man who did such great work, such great service.
Yeah.
Can you trace your line back?
Yeah, so Nan, her parents, so it'd make me great-great.
Niece.
I'll be his great-great-niece.
Yes. So I can reveal to you that this Chief Inspector Aberline is your ancestor.
So it's true. It's real.
It is real.
Oh, wow. It's real.
So in 1904, he retired, and he didn't pass away until December the 10th, 1929, in Holdenhurst Road in Bournemouth.
OK.
Now, in 2001, a blue plaque was created in Bournemouth. So at the time, they couldn't find any family.
Well, me and her.
Christine, because you weren't able to be at the unveiling of the blue plaque, we've created this replica to give to you today.
Wow. Oh, thank you. Oh, my God. Thank you so much.
So, Chief Inspector Aberline is your ancestor. He's your great-great-uncle.
Yeah, I know.
How does that make you feel?
Amazing. I'm very proud.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was just amazed. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant.
So are you glad you came? Has it been worth it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Really worth it, yeah. No, I'm really pleased, and I thank everyone that's helped out to find out for me that, you know, it's real. It's true, yes. Got confirmation, and there's my proof.
There's your proof. Nothing can take that away from you.
No, they can't, no. No, I'm really glad, yeah.
Well done.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Case closed, and what a result. So our search through birth and death records has put together Christine's family tree and proved that Inspector Frederick Aberline is in fact Christine's great-great-uncle. It was the Normans who first introduced surnames. Before that, people used to use personal names or nicknames. Then they began to use things like places of origin, fathers' names, and trades as hereditary surnames. Jack Tenniswood and his mother Kate are eager to trace the origins of their unusual surname. And genealogist Brad Argent will use his expertise to shed light on where their name came from.
I think everyone who's even talked to me and mentioned me, oh, that's a strange name, that's a bit different. And it's hardly a Smith or, you know, one along those lines. So, like, this would be a clarification for myself and my family, like, you know, who I am, where I've come from.
Welcome, Kate, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
So, you're here today to find out about the name Tenniswood.
Mm-hmm.
I've not heard that surname before.
No.
It's a strange one, yeah.
Does it have anything to do with tennis?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Many people have asked me, where on earth did you get that name? And so I reply, my husband gave it to me.
I have no idea, so.
Well, that's all right. It's always nice when you can just sort of pass the blame on someone else.
Yes.
Surnames are fascinating things, right? So they do have quite a lot of power. But they're a reasonably recent invention in human history, right? In fact, they actually only came into being when the government decided they needed to tax people. So in order to do that, they needed to know exactly who you were, right? So the surname came along. But there's different ways of getting a surname, right? Locative, right? Based on a location. Topographical, hill, as example. Lee is another good example of that. Nicknames, long, short, tall, and occupational. And that's probably the most common one, right? Things like Fletcher, right? Teacher, Smith, Cooper. Do you have any theories about the name Tenniswood and where that came from?
My grandfather maintained that there was a place called Tinnis Hill up on the Scottish borders, in which there was woodland surrounding it back in the day. So, yeah, topographical.
Or it could be locative, right? Because, you know, Tenniswood could be a place.
Yeah,
So it's hard to pin it down. We've done a little bit of research as well on the surname, but the best way to find out is to actually just do the family history. Right? We've done quite a lot of family tree research, and I've got some very interesting stories to tell you, but they all lead us somewhere. So this is Arthur, right? Arthur Tenniswood. This is your grandfather. He's the one who has the location-based theory. Let's jump back a couple of generations. It's 1857 and Charles Isaac Tenniswood is born, right? Your great-great-grandfather. Do you know anything about him?
That's the first time I've seen his name.
So Charles had a couple of jobs. He was a coachman for a while. And then if we have a look in the 1891 census, right? By 1891, he'd kind of gone from coachman to farrier. And do you know what a farrier is?
Horseshoe makers?
Exactly. So we're talking about this time when in London there were like 300,000 horses. And they all needed shoes. And so farriers just boomed, right? They were everywhere. And you can imagine the work of a farrier. Here he is. Not only does they have to work with molten metal and hot metal, they have to apply that hot metal to a horse's hoof. Very hard work. In fact, you actually see farrier often as a surname because it's an occupational surname. So you've got a really interesting history. So let's step back one more generation. William Tenniswood. Notice anything different?
Yeah. Suspicion of I've done.
So there's a change. There's a name change between the generations. So here we have the baptism record. And the baptism is for William Tinnis with an I. And then when we find the death record, it's changed to Tennis. And so you're actually Tenniswood, not Tenniswood. Let's go back to your 5 times great-grandfather, Samuel Tenniswood. And we know quite a bit about Samuel. He was a courier, not somebody who delivered packages, but someone who worked with leather in Soho. And he must have been doing okay because he went bankrupt. Now, why do I say he was doing okay and went bankrupt? Because he had creditors, and people wouldn't necessarily have lent him money unless he was a man of some means, because they wanted to make sure they could get it back. But does this get us any closer to understanding what tenniswood means. What was Arthur's theory? Again, just one more time. Where did he think the name tenniswood came from?
The Scottish borders. He maintained somewhere near Carlisle.
But we've gone back to your 5 times great-grandfather in Soho, in London. That's not that close.
No, it's not.
So here we have the marriage of Samuel and Jane. And this tells us when they were married. And this allows us to jump onto the birth record in the parish. And you can see here on the birth record, Samuel, son of Robert Tenningswood at Longtown, which is in Carlisle.
Oh.
Okay.
So, right, okay.
So Grandad was right.
He was a clever bloke, in all fairness,
So your dad passed away a couple of years ago.
He did, yeah.
And so did your granddad. How do you think they would feel about knowing that you now know?
I think he would be very proud, actually, that, you know, you've researched it further just to find the facts about all the stories that we've been told, yeah.
He's quite a historian himself, so he would have loved it. That's really interesting.
Thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Cheers, thank you very much. I think the Tenniswoods have always been quite proud people. So I think being able to actually finally confirm where we're from, who we are, especially where the mystery of the second names actually come from, I think jubilations across the entirety of the Tenniswood clan is going to be adhered to, essentially.
Dad would have loved this. Yeah, he would. He would have loved this, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
So we've solved the mystery for Jack and Kate. Having traced back to Jack's 5 times great-grandfather, Brad has been able to confirm that the Tenniswood name stems from Tennings Wood near Carlisle, proving Grandad was right all along.